Hello there everyone, welcome back. It's time for something a little bit different for a change, as I'm going to be fighting up against Chaos. And the one match I had against Chaos before in this championship was a little bit underwhelming, but in this case we're going to have ourselves a real long range skirmish going on here as he eventually chooses the Cruiser Clash mission. So we're just going to be going up for a straight up attrition war. He's going to be utilizing his lances, I'm going to be utilizing my macro cannons and the Widowmaker primarily. So this will definitely be a lot different, because quite frankly he has the same mobility as my ships there. All his cruisers have basically the same turn radius as my Tyrants, and really, yeah, and my Retribution, especially with the rotation speed upgrade. The only thing is, of course, he has that slight increase to his speed, which can cause a little bit of issues there if I'm out of position and not in a good situation to pressure him. But for him to maximize his firepower, he kind of needs his broadside to me, so that extra speed is not going to be significant on its own. Although, without a doubt, he's likely going to have the, emission dissipators, which prevents his ships from getting detected, which is going to be a good combo for the speed. But it also takes up one of his upgrade slots, but that's not really a big deal, I suppose, now that I think of it, because Chaos more than likely are going to be focusing all their efforts really on the lances, with maybe an upgrade or two for their carrier ships, since there's really only like one upgrade anyway for the bombers to really reduce their cooldown. That's pretty much it. Everything else is more about their long range, and especially their lances there, boosting it so that lock-ons give them additional critical hit. Additional bonus damage to shields is the big one, which thankfully I do have a lot of answers to help deal with the lances gains through my shields. But the big concern with that is I'm going to need to be mindful of any of auger probes he's going to try and throw down, especially stick onto me there, especially with any enhanced lance or just the lance range in general. I need to be careful of. Because once he sticks a beacon on my shield, or on my ships when their shields are down, then I'm going to be in for a world of hurt. Because then silent running and gas clouds are not going to be an option for me. So we're going to try and keep ourselves at max range possible. That's going to be my play style coming into this match. I'm going to try and hover around the 12,000 unit range. And while what this will do is basically it will tempt him and bait him to start throwing out his auger probes, his recon probes anyway, to reveal my ships. Not so much to stick them on me, at least at first. Then, if I'm good about my response, and my positioning at the time when he tries to engage with the first probe, I am going to get back into position where having one of my other ships shield the target that's getting focused down, or just solid run outside the beacon, so he's kind of forced to use another recon probe. And eventually he'll get burnt out. That's the idea anyway. Because those regular probes that they send at me right now are not a huge threat. He's only going to have, what, 2-3 seconds? At the very least, one lance salvo that he can really use to hit my ships, and that's pretty much it. Because then I can just silent run and hide in the gas cloud, which is what I'm currently doing. Is apparently the emission dissipator is revealed. I'm not really surprised by this. This is a good common upgrade to get for Chaos there, as it allows you to be extra mobile, especially with the high energy turn. You're going to be trying to go for the cloak and dagger type of approach and just chip me down with the lances. So how I'm going to normally be fighting in this match, especially against Chaos, is I'm going to play at his own game there. I'm going to be fighting at range. The only difference is I have the Widowmaker. The Widowmaker is going to be so damn important for this matchup, and at least with its extended range, it actually has greater range than my actual macro battery, so I'm hiding it behind my fleet for that reason. Because it's got 12,500 unit range, so if it's practically right next to my ships, even if it's behind them, I can still get full uninterrupted macro battery fire once they are detected. Not that that's a big deal, but it synergizes really well with this playstyle. I just gotta be careful of when he tries to focus down the Widowmaker, because those lances will wreck it in an instant with one good salvo, since the frigate accuracy penalty does not really take effect with the lances. But torpedoes going off, we're just dancing back and forth, trying to avoid any detection we can. Just a little bit, especially for this Dauntless out in the open. I'm already positioning myself to go back into the gas cloud as torpedoes are thankfully hitting. And that's one of the things I can abuse against Chaos as well. Because unless he has the spoiler with the lances and the 4 fighter bays, he's pretty vulnerable to a lot of torpedoes, at least with the lance variant set up. So torpedoes are going to be damn effective here, especially with his side facing me there. He's going to have to burn high energy turns if he wants to effectively dodge. Or just a lot of boosters in general, which is what he's doing right now. So, nice widespread. It's been giving me some good hits so far there. Forced a few repairs, but I don't know if that salvo hit anything or not. Probably, I would imagine not anyway. I'm not hearing any more further repairs though. But, as that said, detection has been denied. I do take a little bit of hits, but shields are holding just fine. We're only at half health, with some shield transfers available to me. This stasis bomb though could be a problem, as with the lances, of course, having no actual travel speed, they are like the perfect offensive tool, where normally for pretty much any other faction, they're more defensive to try and keep your distance from a target. Oh, but Chaos can use an unload, but I got that covered. He did not want to waste a beacon, or he doesn't have any beacons, which works really well for me in this case. I could just unload and keep hammering him down. It is going to be a slow match because of my lower accuracy, but I am hitting him and I am forcing shield transfers out of him, which is an interesting choice. As we're starting to reveal his ships now, 2 Acrons, Hellbringer Mark II, that's the Lance variant, and the interesting ship in the Devastation. I'm not entirely certain what his loadout is, besides the 2 fighter bays that are on it. I think it has a handful of missile pods otherwise, so not so much maybe in the way of lances, I want to say. But he's trying to get a nice surround on me there, nice little concave. Doesn't really do a whole lot on its own, because it does hinder his focus fire a little bit if I'm good about my positioning. So far, this gas cloud's been working beautifully because of his lack of recon probes. It's been working beautifully here. I could just fly in there at any time and just hide my ship again without having to burn assault run. And so far, his shields have been holding, aside for the 1 portable Dauntless. With only its 100 health, it's not really able to take sustained fire really well. So that just goes to show how fragile my Widowmaker is going to be if it ever gets locked down, even if only for a moment. Shields are going to go down instantly, and any critical hits are either going to cause a fire or a hull breach. And that's very likely to kill him in a hurry if he does get any solid hits on the armor itself. So that is a big risk here. Although I do have my Dauntless with the Imperial Navy favor to kind of serve as a bit of a backup. I can get a little more aggressive with my Cobra, even though they do lack the extended sensors, to kind of poke forward and spot, as we get ourselves a nice medium range combat, 6,000 units, unload on the poor Carnage, the Devastation rather, and we're seeing Slaanesh favors taking effect. And while normally this is pretty powerful ability because it locks down my torpedoes, my orders, and any abilities that are, well, supercharged void shield especially, that the ship can utilize. But I have shield transfers and I have the ability to block all this damage. Unless he wants to burn multiple Slaanesh favors. And I will happily let him burn multiples if he wants. Because again, I have my backup in the shield transfer on my Retribution and Dauntless at the very least there. As we're doing a number on this Devastation, I would argue this is probably the worst target to go after, but it's the one that's taken the most damage, so I am going to try and get me some value somewhere, even though, in all honesty, the Acrons are probably the better choice just because of the sheer firepower of those Lance batteries. Devastation's probably not very effective, especially if I could get multiple ships with their point defense to shoot down his bombers when he attempts them, because otherwise I'm pretty certain it's just missile turrets, missile pods he has otherwise, which my armor can negate reasonably well, as well as the shields, if it even hits at the long range. Which kind of why they're not the most efficient at long range, but they do hit. They do work, as made apparent with my own weaponry there at long range. I've been getting some good hits. As the Devastation is forced to warp out, shields do come back up in an inconvenient time though. Inconvenient time, and I had no position to get a boarding or even like a torpedo salvo off. But heavily damaged. It's not going to contribute for next fight. Not that that means a whole lot. I don't think that's the most what is it? The most threatening ship I need to deal with. I think it's these two Acrons, and they're the ones I want to kill. One's already down a third of its health. This other one I'm trying to pepper with torpedoes, but you're seeing the speed and emotion there. It's making it really difficult to pin them down and lead it. Because once he realized, if I lead it too far forward, he could just burn retros and then easily miss this torpedo salvo as is. So I kind of need to commit 2 ships with torpedoes at the same time if I want to get a proper hit in. And then of course that means I'm only going to get light damage with his point defense possibly shooting down a handful of torpedoes. So it's going to be tricky to lock him down, especially when boosting. But we're in the promising spots a little bit. We're trying to get shots in. He is braced for impact though, so that's going to mitigate a lot of this damage as my Widowmaker is getting targeted by his ships. And with the Slanesh favor, I can't actually silent run with this thing. Oh, actually he canceled the silent run entirely there. He denied the order, the brace for impact, whatever effect it was I was trying to utilize. And with the fires, my Widowmaker dies. This is a bit of a problem. A slight bit of a problem if he can disengage from me. Because then he can use the gas clouds, he can silent run, and then I won't be able to do any damage until I have my Cobra reinforcement back up to kind of reveal him. As I get a little bit of a mini-map misclick there by accident. But this Acron's low health. I just need 1 torpedo salvo to stick to kill it. Or at least heavily damage it at this point. So I try to do just that there. Get ready to unload. Get the second Tyrant ready to do more damage based on how he maneuvers. And he just takes a hit. He just takes it gracefully. Heavily damaged, insubordination, so we have to kill it right now. And we get it. Ask and you shall receive in this case. Although, I may have already knew the result of that outcome. He was not going to make it out. He was not going to make it out regardless. I kind of already knew that somehow. Either way, we got rid of one of the big powerhouses of this battle. Now we just got to lock down the other ones relatively quickly, as my Dauntless, without his engines, is not going to be able to contribute a whole lot here. Not effectively. He's only really got his Cobra to kind of poke forward and reveal. At least the cruiser. It has the speed to run down the cruiser relatively well, but the light cruisers could still get away when I reinforce with the Cobra. But I'm leaving the Dauntless there for that very reason. I want to avoid getting it killed because I am mindful, very mindful that he can still hide on me. He has the ability to silent run still, even though he is using brace for impact momentarily. So I don't have to worry about it for a good 2 minutes before he can actually hide fully from this retribution as it's coming in close, and I am starting to realize I am leaving my hold fire active, which is a bit of a problem, but I have been trying to experiment with it, trying to get the shots I want on the specific cruiser I'm aiming for when I do these high energy turns and turning maneuvers. Only downside is I am forgetting about it inconvenient times, but when I do realize it, it's doing work right now. Close range accuracy hits is making up for the fact I may have been missing out on a shot or 2. Now, I am going to try and get this dang Acron. It's taking heavy damage. Can I at the very least get heavily damaged? 1 more macro battery to send it off. Nope, wasn't meant to be. Wasn't meant to be, but now we just have 2 Hellbringers to deal with. 2 Hellbringers, and as I accidentally misclick with the torpedoes there, I think I was instinctively trying to use torpedoes on the Dauntless there and forgot that his prow was broken. I think it's what happened there. Tried to tab on through until I got something to shoot in. Nope. Wasn't meant to be there. So far, all I got was just making myself look silly. But 1 good solid hit on the crippled Hellbringer is going to heavily damage it. Although he's got like 3 more replacements. But with them all favored and all fully upgraded there, they're worth heavily damaging at least. Worth getting any kills with such a valuable light cruiser. Sadly, didn't get the heavily damaged on that either. So with only 1 light cruiser left, I decided to preserve the Imperial Navy Dauntless. We're going to warp it on out. Get ready for maybe the next match there. Or at least the final round. Because the extra backup vision will be handy. As though he's not really punishing my lack of a Widowmaker just yet. He may not even realize I lost a Widowmaker because the Cobras kind of look the same. Cobras kind of look the same, so it's kind of hard to tell unless you're actively looking at what my ships are. But nonetheless, we're going to go in close. We're going to hunt this thing down. It's wedged between the corner of the map, so we're going to get some damage in here momentarily. Going to get some damage in momentarily. I'm just going to make sure my boosters don't run out and get put in an awkward situation here where I'm forced to recharge. Can I do it? I have torpedoes up. We're going to try for a salvo, but this is what I'm talking about there. If I try and lead too far forward because he's boosting, he just burns retros or stops his boosters entirely. So sticking with the torpedoes, especially with a light cruiser, all saying is almost impossible with a single cruiser. But this one, with 8 torpedoes, is going to look a lot more promising. Aiming for the prow, he turns right into it. Ooh, what a beautiful hit. Torpedoes feel good when they hit. And of course, let's see. I'm not holding fire at the moment here. I may have been holding fire earlier when I did my attack. I was not paying attention to that. I think I accidentally held fire again there. Trying to wait till I got a little bit closer. But that was a fun little match there. I had the benefit of the Widowmaker, and once it died, he did not take advantage of the fact I didn't even have it. So he could have survived a little bit longer there, but I was in damn good position once the first Acheron warped out. Damn good position there. All his ships were favored, so he had to sacrifice upgrades somewhere. So, what are the kind of traditional Chaos upgrades to go for? There's the Emission Disappear, to keep yourself from being revealed for boosting. There's like at least 2-3 upgrades for Lances. 1 for the shield, 1 for the extended range, and then 1 for the extra critical hit if you plan on locking on. And then those are the main essentials. Otherwise, everything else is kind of utility. And of course, even one of them just depends on you plan on locking on often. If you're going to benefit from the overcharge, I think it's called. But nonetheless, we're going straight into Space Station Assault. Going with the traditional tried and true Dictator and Overlords. This is going to work very well for any fighter-centric style he's going to go for, but I know he has 2 Acherons, so I'm suspecting more of the same, more Lance variant type of style. Although he did have a Devastation, which can be useful in the same role that I'm using my Dictator, which is kind of like a support ship. Because 2 squads of fighters are going to be really good against even a battleship's worth of bombers, because they have less firing. Less weapons to shoot down my own fighters, while I'm in good position to defend, because with the addition of the Dictator's point defense and any other cruiser that may be nearby contributing. So a single cruiser, a single Dictator at least, can almost nullify the despoiler. Or at least the battleship with the carrier ships. I keep mixing up those 2 battleship names, damn it. And it irritates me, and I don't know why. Probably just because they both start with D. They both have their Despoiler and Desolator, I believe, are the 2 battleships. So they're damn similar in their naming, and it confuses the hell out of me. Nonetheless, add the fact that I have a battle station also with fighters, and we're looking golden. It does question if I should really field a Dictator, because I know he doesn't have Stigs or anything like that. Only his battleship is kind of in question there as far as like an actual carrier ship. And I did destroy or deal with one of his, Devastations at least. So I know there's at least 2 other possible Devastations he could be fielding. So, either way, better safe than sorry, and actually, the Dictator's still pretty good for a little bit on the offensive there, because when I'm ready to start pushing away from the battle station, so it's still good in that regard. It's a welcome addition so far for the battle station assaults. I haven't really regretted fielding that ship. Because really, the Dictator, with the championship, this is like the first real window where I'm actively using a Dictator, let alone the Mars, which is another carrier ship that the Imperial Navy have. And I've been pretty damn happy with it. With all the matches I had to deal with orcs, torpedo orcs and all that, it's been working out really well. So it's a proud addition to the crew. A proud addition to the fleet. Whether I need it for this match, considering I know all the Lance-heavy ships he's been fielding, that could still be in question. But torpedoes are still going to work even if he doesn't have the fighters. Because then he has less defense to respond to the torpedo onslaught that's about to come at him. As we see 4 ships, This could mean anything, really. I know his battle cruiser's possibly gone. One did make it out, so it... I know one is heavily damaged, and, well, one actually died, got destroyed, and one's made it out safely. It's the lost in warp effect that's in question for the second Acheron. So, we try and go for the cruisers there. He's hugging the structure. Don't know how well that's working for him there. He seems like he may have gotten stuck. I'm not gonna lie. He seems to be hugging that structure really damn well, as we get a lot of repair results. So, that worked out well. That's a promising start for me. We do realize that torpedoes though, so we got a Desolator, I believe it is. I hope I actually got the names right. That probably is a Desolator battleship in the middle. And he's got like 2 idolators, 2 infidels, whatever the frigates are called, over on the right, trying to harass with torpedoes. Not working out very well. Not working out very well, especially with the lack of torpedoes he's utilizing. But second salvo is looking really damn promising right here as we get another hit. We were going to get another hit, then he blocked it. Blocked it on the Slaanesh light cruiser.
Going silent.
Well, I was feeling good about that, and we stuck. Nothing stuck there. But we turn attention to the battleship now.
Yes.
Just a little bit. Get ready to receive these torpedoes and get ready to unload my torpedo wave, because he's kind of wedged his Desolator against this structure. So moving to dodge is going to be a little bit tricky for him. It is going to block some of my own torpedoes, but if he's not ready to dodge and respond to these torpedoes immediately, it's going to hurt for something so big. And with no fighters to defend it even. No fighters to defend it, so he's going to be in a world of hurt in a moment. So, he's beginning a turn over against the Hellbringers. They're not really a big threat, so what I'm ultimately going to do is turn one of my Overlords around when I'm ready to kind of confront the Desolator. The other 2 are just going to deal with these Hellbringers by themselves with the support of the battle station.
Your orders?
That's the plan. That's what I'm going to be doing in a moment. I'm just waiting for these torpedoes to come on by. I'm already turning the Overlord to gauge.
Yes.
Got ourselves a nice fire assault, but the brace for impact's doing work there, blocking that damage, I gotta say. We did very little damage there. We only got a lucky critical hit to really brag about in that exchange. And we got Siege Favor, which I don't even think I've been seeing any Siege Clouds. I don't know if he had any Siege for the first battle. He could be utilizing that here. Because I don't... Well, actually I have 2 Widowmakers, one which is right next to me. So, that would have been short-lived. Okay, that was funny. I was talking about the gas cloud, and of course he immediately does it afterwards. It's too little effect there, but once he completely disengages there, then he'll be able to hide himself once more. As the Desolator comes in into the minefield. Oh, it's the Desolator. I actually got the name right for a change. I feel like I accomplished something. And quite frankly, the championship should be the more important thing. Damn it. I'm going to relish the fact I remember the Desolator's name. But what's interesting, he decides to go kamikaze with this thing. And the reason for that, quite frankly, is I told you how he had to sacrifice upgrades for all those favors. His Desolator has no upgrades on it when I check at one point. I don't know if I check it right away, but at some point later when I see his kamikaze attack, I realize he has no upgrades on it. So, this is mostly cannon fodder. This is mostly just his distraction tactic, if anything. Which basically means if once this thing dies, he's really going to have no firepower left to deal with this space station. All he's got are torpedoes for the burst damage potential. And hell, he hasn't even revealed me just yet. I'm kind of just hugging outside of his sensor range, so even his lance batteries are not getting utilized fully. Bomber's going in, gonna get ourselves a little bit extra damage. Nice, not really all that significant unfortunately, but good amount of damage. But that torpedo salvo sure as hell is worth bragging about. Damn good hit there. As we get ourselves a collision course on the Desolator. And of course, like true chaos, true friendly sparring matches go, he has to explode on me. Not really significant, thankfully, with the shield still up, so we're looking good for a victory right now. It could end right here, right now. I just gotta somehow figure out how to hunt down 3 Hellbringers, which is going to be a tall order considering the massive speed difference here. I had issues with Custodian before at 200 movement speed a second, or 200 units a second. These things go 225, and they have a mission dissipator for if my Widowmaker can't reveal them, so they're going to be tricky to pin down. The only thing I got going for me is this minefield. I am so tempted to somehow get him into that minefield, because he's going to be skirting around that for a little bit, I think. And really, what I plan on doing with these Cobras is just build them up a little bit, and then have them just deal with those infidels over on the right once I get a critical mass, or at least enough that I feel like I can take them on, because this is going to take a while. So I'm going to have time to spawn, deploy more Cobras to help support me. But we got a promising torpedo salvo here. I think one is only going to hit. One's about to hit there. The other one's only going to hit the nose. Nope. We get one hit on the one Hellbringer. Brought it down to below half health. But we're trying to get our shots in when we can. I should start boosting in there, but with the engine gone on the one Overlord, so it's going to be tailing behind quite a bit. It's not really going to contribute anymore, aside from maybe the occasional torpedo salvo. But the Widowmaker is still within reach. I do have to boost with it a little bit, revealing it, to keep vision of this siege cloud. Keep the pressure on. It's going to be a slow process, especially if only thing I can hit with lances. Bombers could also do some work here, but he has fighters. That's going to easily get negated. I gotta hope they can at least kill some of those fighters off for the devastation, so that way I can follow it up with an even more devastating torpedo salvo, really. But as it stands now, the fighter's actually chasing after my torpedoes. The bombers might even get unhindered right now. Nope, never mind, take it back. They all get shot down. I was excited for a moment that maybe, just maybe, I could have got a bomber run in. But as it stands now, the Constellation Prize, he's now wedged into a corner. There's only one way he can go. And that's right along the side of the map, which will be what I'm waiting for. I'm going to be waiting patiently for that. It's 40 seconds, we'll wait for more let's see. Yeah, another 40 seconds to get my frigates back out. And these ones are going to start confronting. They do have torpedoes, so they could do a lot of damage to those two infidels if those torpedoes can hit. But the hunt continues here. Definitely slow encounter in order. He just is refusing to lose. I applaud him for his tenacity, but he needs to come up with a working strategy if he's going to want to win this match. If he wants to stay in this race. Because now he's not only wedged between a corner, he's wedged next to a bunch of mines. Oh, I'm looking forward to this opportunity, especially now his devastation is kind of teasing that is coming over to confront my ships. If he gets any closer, that will work well for me, but I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to bite. And I'm actually not holding fire this time. I haven't been holding fire at all in this match here, so I'm not missing out on fire potential, although I could be trying to lock on here, but with the lance fire, that could do some notable damage. Might as well play it safe there, especially since he has no vision to reliably hit me. He can't really reliably hit me, and those lances are taking out his shields notably fast, so getting careless could do a notable amount of damage to me if I'm not careful. Because hell, I did have 10 seconds left before my silent run came up, but once those shields are down, he's going to do a lot of damage. I do have phosphor pattern shields, keep in mind, so with his lances, these shields are technically just as durable as my armor is going to be once he does break through, so I could have lost 200 points of armor right there, just about. So being able to mitigate that is going to pay off, but we get in close, we get my wish, folks. The devastation is going to fly right into a minefield. All that chasing him and playing this little rat race has finally paid off for me. We get 200 damage on the devastation. I think it even just burns to death right now. As it furiously tries to warp on out, I think it's just going to burn to death. Yep, it is gone. It did not survive. That made my day, though. That definitely made my day right there. That decides the match. There may have been a chance for him to wear down my ships if I got them careless. Kind of like how I revealed myself without the silent running being available. So, and that was only with like what, 2 light cruisers and a devastation with some macro batteries. So, if I had done that earlier, during all that time I was chasing him, that could have hurt. In all seriousness, that could have hurt some. Nonetheless, I was pretty damn happy with how the first match went. It seemed effective, we didn't lose any ships, as I accidentally basically nearly kill my own beacon and fly my own Cobra to try and spare the beacon. That's kind of what happened there. A little bit silly, a little unnecessary, I guess. I was just trying to quickly kill the dang frigate. That was mainly it. I knew there was a possibility to shoot down my own big beacon there. But we win us in a nice 2-0. I played a good amount of chaos matches in the persistent mode as this championship progressed, so a lot of high level chaos fleets, and I won in practically all of them there, so I'm feeling confident in my chaos matchup. It just remains to be seen what the highest caliber type of chaos in the championship rankings itself, how that differs. Because I'm not oblivious to the potential I could still get beaten by chaos, but I'm damn confident in my ability, so long as I have a good backup rate for my sensors and the Widowmaker stays alive. Widowmaker is key, without a doubt, for the chaos type of matchup, because there's very little chance I can get in close to get the full broadside in, so I'm going to have to rely on torpedo harassment at range and getting the eventual hits with my macro batteries.